Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and today I'm reacting to your unpopular movie opinions. That's right. Today you all opened the doors for me to get real shady and maybe a little bit petty, but all in good fun as we celebrate finally reaching 1,000 subscribers here on the channel. So, to say thanks, to have some fun again here on LC Screen Talk, I decided to do another reacting to your unpopular movie opinions. I'm sorry this came out a little bit late in comparison to me actually reaching 1,000 subscribers. But honestly, thank you all so much. This past month has been wild. But here we are, finally able to get this video up. And I do appreciate you all. So please realize I might get real shady and shade your opinions. But I do love each and every one of you. And this is all in good fun. Also saying that I'm pretty basic, y'all. So usually I probably align with the majority on all kinds of opinions. So I'll probably disagree with most every opinion stated here in this video. And there are some wild ones. There are definitely some wild ones. But enough of all this chit-chat, enough of all this rambling. Y'all came here to get a little bit wild now, didn't you? So let's go ahead and react to your unpopular movie opinions. Now let me just shade y'all right off the bat, because I love all of you. I love every single person who took the time out to go ahead and submit an unpopular opinion. You put yourselves out there to have your unpopular opinions read and poked fun at here in this video, and I truly appreciate everybody for being a good sport. However, some of y'all submitted some novels. So I'm going to try to get through all of these, but for the sake of everybody's sanity and time, I might have to condense some of what you all said. So if it was funny and really over the top, it might not be so funny and over the top, other than the opinion itself just being a laugh riot. But just know, I'm going to try to get through everybody, and I'm going to try to keep the essence of your question. But some of y'all, you know I'm long-winded as it is. I can't stop talking by myself. And then you submit a novel of a question? Come on now. So we're going to start with the Instagram questions, beginning with Nicole Jones. She says, I know a lot of people hate the Twilight series, but I think that it's amazing, and it is what really started the vampire and werewolf craze. It should be considered a classic. But clearly, Nicole and I have very different views of what a classic is. And I must be ancient, because I remember the werewolf and vampire stages and crazes starting long and long ago. In saying that, partially, I agree. I think people are too hard on the Twilight fandom. I think they're too hard on Twilight as films. This was fantasy film for mostly a younger female audience, and in general, the world likes to hate on things that teenage girls in particular enjoy. So it was made for its audience. Its audience loved it. So who cares what anybody else has to say? That's my point of view on it. Dylan Flickinger says, Taken 3 is so bad that it has rewatchability. Well, I can only partially agree. I think it was so bad, but I've never been urged to watch it again. So, I don't know about that, but yeah, it was pretty bad. Kieran Boone, I love you. This is quite the response. I'm going to just kind of put down what your main points were. That Night School with Kevin Hart is a great comedy, and Uncle Drew is a comedy that doesn't get enough credit. I wasn't that big a fan of either. But I'm very hard on comedy, so that's not a shock. Jacob Anthony says, Moonlight is overrated and didn't deserve the Best Picture win. Excuse you, sir. We do not accept such slander of cinematic masterpieces here on this channel. Hesden Duncan says, I actually liked movie 43 and disliked Roma. Ooh, those are some choices, Hesden. That's something. I loved Roma, and movie 43 is actually my least favorite movie of all time. I just hate it. I hate like everything about it. So I'm glad somebody in the world enjoyed it and it was made for a purpose, but that purpose was not for me. That's for dang sure. Hopping over to Facebook, we have Sammy One World saying, I still enjoy Shark Tale, Kingsman The Golden Circle is great, and Jurassic Park Fallen Kingdom is kind of good. I pretty much agree with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It's fine. I don't hate it like everybody else seems to hate it. It's just there for me. Kingsman The Golden Circle, great is not a word I would use to describe that film. Maybe disappointing? And Shark Tale is a big no for me. So, yeah. Hopefully Will Smith's return to animation this year is a little bit better. Danny Z says, Widows really wasn't that good. Thought it was dull, uninteresting, boring, forgettable, and overall really disappointing given all the hype and praise. So I saw it before all the hype and praise came out. I got to go to an event screening and I loved it. So I can't really co-sign on any of this, Danny. Ooh, sorry, but I do know that there actually are quite a few people who found Widows to be disappointing or underwhelming. I just wasn't one of them. So Mr. Garrison went on some profanity mess. And we don't do too much of that here on this channel, Mr. Garrison. So I definitely had to tame this one down. But he says, I find the Gremlins to be the most ridiculous, obnoxious, irritating, deplorable, goofy-ass boo-boo crap. Alrighty. Gizmo's adorable and you'll never convince me otherwise. Jerome Latimer says Toni Collette in Hereditary delivers the most overrated performance of the decade. Never knew auditioning for Wes Craven's Ghostface from Scream and or looking as if you had to take the biggest lava dump imaginable would earn you praise. Completely over the top to where at times it becomes unintentionally hilarious. Well, Jerome, as you probably know by now, I loved Hereditary. It was this close to making my top 10 of 2018, and I do think Toni Collette should have probably been nominated for Best Actress. But we all got our opinions. Some just maybe better than others. C.A. Cougar Movie Reviews says The Fault in Our Stars is one of the most overrated movies I've ever seen in my life. It was cheesy, I didn't like the characters, the attempts at humor made me cringe, and the plot was your typical cookie-cutter romance film plot. Only difference was the main characters had a terminal illness, and yet I didn't feel bad for them, because I didn't care for them at all. Well, I do have to disagree that there wasn't much of a difference, because it seems every single teenage romance these days features the teenagers having a terminal illness. So even that is pretty much right in line with the cookie-cutter teenage romances. I personally like The Fault with Our Stars. I think it's one of the better teenage, terminally ill romances that have come out over the past decade or so. But I can definitely see that it's not for everybody. So I won't fully disagree with you, C.A. Cougar. But yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Tiffany Raven Green says, I enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 better than the first one, and The Conjuring 2 is better than the first one. No and no. Conjuring 2 is pretty much right on par, though, for me when it comes to the first Conjuring. I think they are both great, and I love them both. Guardians Volume 2, though, is a huge step down from the first Guardians, in my opinion, and one of Marvel's weakest. Yikes. Soren Sanders had lots of unpopular opinions over on Facebook. Soren says, I prefer Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory over the original. Oh, that's a traumatizing childhood you had, Soren. I don't look at Rain Man as a Best Picture winner, especially over Mississippi Burning. I've actually not seen Mississippi Burning. I like Rain Man, but can't really comment on that one. I think Suspiria should have been nominated at the Oscars, most specifically for makeup, which it should have won, score, production, design, and supporting actress for Swinton. I can agree with these nominations, so hey. McGregor should have been nominated for Christopher Robin. As much as I loved him and I love that movie, Best Actor was a very stacked field, so I wouldn't go that far personally. Hurt's role in The Elephant Man was more of a supporting role, while Anthony Hopkins was more of the protagonist. I prefer Matrix Revolution over Reloaded. I find Revolution to be such a mess that I can't really co-sign that one for you, Soren. But at least you didn't try to justify the third being better than the first. And then we move over on to Twitter, the tweets. Patrick Burrow says, X-Men The Last Stand is the most entertaining movie in the original trilogy. X-Men and X2, X-Men United are boring and flawed, full of plot holes. Well, I highly disagree with this one. I don't hate X-Men The Last Stand. I agree with you that actually kind of entertaining for what it is. It just completely bastardizes one of the greatest comic book storylines of all time, so I cannot get on board with that. Plus, I think X2 is one of the best X-Men films of all time. X-Men, the original one, definitely did not age very well. Actually, I don't think X2 aged all that well either, which have hurt them, but I think they're generally better than X3. So there's that. And then we have Alien 3 is not as bad as people make it out to be. It's very underrated. I'm not a fan. Glad you like it though. Every film needs those champions, right? Logan Battles says Glass is much better than Split. It solved a lot of problems I had with Split, like actually having an interesting plot twist. Split does not have a plot twist. I liked Glass actually a lot more than most people did, but I still prefer Split. I liked the smaller story, and I liked that there wasn't this big twist to be revealed actually, which is a bit refreshing for an M. Night Shyamalan movie. So for me, Split provided the stronger performance. It was just more focused of a film than Glass was, but I still like Glass too. So honestly, I think a case could be made for either one. Jimmy Pink says Grease 2 is a more entertaining film than Grease. Yeah, I said it. Girl. Jimmy, your whole channel is like greasers and pink and grease. What in the world, child? Needless to say, I don't agree with this opinion. Grease 2, I can't. I just can't with Grease 2. I'm sorry, girl. I'm sorry. Paul Katsalos, sorry if I butchered that, says, I enjoyed The Dark Knight Rises more than The Dark Knight. Ooh, this is a hard disagree for me. I think The Dark Knight Rises is the weakest in the Nolan trilogy. I know, super mainstream opinion, but The Dark Knight is head and shoulders above it for me. Ren Geekness says, despite being the weakest in the trilogy, Thor the Dark World easily has the best score of the Thor franchise. I actually would probably tend to agree. I think the score there is a standout in the film, and honestly, I don't know if it's because the rest of the film is so poor that the score is like, yes, something good. But the other scores for Thor have been not memorable at all. Ronald Smith says Rogue One is the best new Star Wars that has recently come out. Hands down. I love Rogue One. I actually think it's pretty great. Personally, I really enjoy it. But yeah, I just don't like it as much as the main trilogy films. So I disagree with the sentiment, but I share your love for Rogue One. So Ryan O'Toole just jumped in, caused the Twitter controversy, the arguments galore, saying Man of Steel is the best Superman movie, better than Superman 78, which is overrated. Those are some fighting words, Mr. O'Toole, as we found out. So I'm going to take it a step further and just flat out say Superman is overrated. How about that? Superman is just overrated. But I think actually Man of Steel is overrated, so there's that. And I definitely think Superman 78 is better, because it like actually captures the spirit of Superman. So I cannot co-sign on this at all. Ryan continues with Doctor Strange is overrated. I don't think it's necessarily overrated. I don't see a lot of people like that really love it. It's a funny thing with a movie like Doctor Strange. I think there are a contingent who think it's way overrated, but I think there's also a contingent who thinks it's way underrated. So thus, I think it's probably rated right about where it needs to be, somewhere in the middle-ish. He then says Star Wars The Last Jedi is underrated. I love it more than The Return of the Jedi. I fully agree. I think The Last Jedi is better than Return of the Jedi. But then again, I think Revenge of the Sith is better than The Return of the Jedi. Ooh! And I think The Last Jedi is pretty awesome. So I'd agree with you there too. Jonathan North says Cars 2 was a fun movie and doesn't deserve the internet's hatred. I also think it's by far the best of the trilogy because of how different it was. It may not be Pixar's best, but not being the best doesn't immediately mean it's an awful film. Best of the trilogy? So I'll go a step further. I don't think it's not just Pixar's best. I do think it is, in fact, Pixar's worst film. However, I do have to agree with you on the fact that it doesn't deserve all the hatred it gets. Being Pixar's worst film still means you're better than a good chunk of the other animated offerings. And I think it's fine. I think it's a fun animated film. Just, really pales in comparison to the two that surround it, in my opinion. Jonathan also says, I loved Space Leia's scene in The Last Jedi, and I also love the entire film. Here's my thing. I also loved The Last Jedi, so I'm there with you. But also, I loved the idea of Space Leia. I loved getting to tap into Leia's inherent Force abilities that we knew was there. We had known since the original trilogy that Leia was Force sensitive. So it was really cool to think about getting in touch with that and having her be in touch with that. However, I just needed the visual to look better. The way she kind of like floated through the space looked bad, and I think that really made it like meme worthy and an easy target to attack. So I like the idea of it. I just didn't love the execution of it. Shattuck, the review guy, says, between Shazam and Aquaman, Shazam takes the cake. However, between Justice League and Aquaman, I would actually take Man of Steel over those two films. We got a lot going on there, Shattuck. There's a lot of jumping around here. So I'm assuming you're saying you prefer Man of Steel to Aquaman, Shazam, and Justice League, but you prefer Shazam to Aquaman. So I completely disagree with Man of Steel being above all of them. I just, no. I actually might even put it below Justice League. They're real close. But I think Shazam is the best of these, and I agree it's better than Aquaman, so there's that. I cannot tell if this was facetious, a joke, or Jared. But Jared Buckendall says, I love Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. This scene alone, giant guitar riffs, and it's a scene of, something exploding in space. I know you love that stilted dialogue, Jared, and that's why you would love this. Movie Mation says, I found Lord of the Rings to be incredibly boring. I don't think you're quite alone in that sentiment, but I definitely don't agree. I love Lord of the Rings. Jaden Sapp says, Sherlock Gnomes is a guilty pleasure for me. Yes, it's not good, but I like to make fun of it. I enjoyed Wonder Park and Cars 2, and those are both in the 30s on Rotten Tomatoes. Sherlock Gnomes is just guilty. Guilty of wasting my time and my brain cells. So it got half of what you said. I wasn't a fan of Wonder Park. I think Cars 2 is fine. I think they both deserve to be right around where they are on the tomato meter personally. But I'm glad you loved them, Jaden. So sorry for this pronunciation, but it says Sweef Otium is in the game. They say Shape of Water is not good. Much like with Moonlight, we do not support such slander here. Shape of Water is wonderful. Jack Goldsworthy says, I like the Hobbit movies. Yeah, me too. I'm pretty easy on fantasy, though. It usually can hook me in. They're a little bit long, a little bit boring, but overall, I don't mind them. Movie Man loves Endgame, has to completely disagree with Ronald Smith earlier, and says, Rogue One kinda sucks. Again, I don't think you're all that alone in that opinion, to be honest, but I dig it. Movie Emporium says, I like Ang Lee's Hulk. So I like the idea within Ang Lee's Hulk. I like the comic book style, and I like that we got Eric Bana Booty. But it just looked like a little rubber ball bouncing around. He was never able to really dig into the introspection that I think he was hoping to get. And overall, it just kind of came up flat for me. So, not really a fan of Ang Lee's Hulk, but I also think Hulk is such a difficult character to get right, especially in a solo setting. Patrick Preston says Ghostbusters 2 is better than Ghostbusters 2016 by far. I completely disagree with this. I think Ghostbusters 2016 is better. I'm not really a fan of Ghostbusters 2. But he also goes on to say, I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 kind of sucks. I love contrary opinions. Everybody thinks their opinion's unpopular, I think. I agree with you. I think Guardians of the Galaxy kind of sucks. One of the weakest from Marvel. And then finally, Proper Movie Reviews says Star Trek is better than Star Wars. I properly have to disagree. Also, Man of Steel is the best superhero movie of the last 20 years. No. It's not even the best DC movie. It's not even the best DCEU movie. No. Just no across the board for me, but you go. You go champion that Man of Steel. I know there are a lot of fervent defenders of that film out there. I just happen to not be anywhere near being one of them. So that's it. That's me reacting to your unpopular movie opinions. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and again, thank you so much for everybody who is subscribed to the channel, who helped me reach the 1,000 subscribers milestone. I so appreciate it. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you that watches my videos, that subscribe to the channel, that gives a like, that leaves comments, that interacts with me in any and every way. I've made so many great friends, and it's been such a wonderful journey being a part of this community. So I highly appreciate and love all of you. Also, a big thank you to everyone who submitted their unpopular opinions to be discussed and have some fun with them here on the channel. This video couldn't have been made without you and all of your great comments. So if you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!